Every year at the annual meeting, resolutions are a hot topic of discussion. And today we talk about resolutions and how you can be part of the process on the Road to Indy presented by Southern Seminary and Boyce College. Joining us today is the chair of the Committee on Resolutions, Dr. Kristen Ferguson. Kristen, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's great to be here.
Okay, so this year is kind of a big year for resolutions. I mean, not only because you're hosting it and chairing the committee, but it's a new process. We haven't had a new resolutions process in quite some time. And last year at the annual meeting, we made some changes to the SBC bylaws that changed a few of the dates and how things are going to work for the messengers.
Yeah, that's right. Bylaw 20 was changed on the floor of the convention last year, which will now move the timeline for submitting resolutions and working on resolutions and publishing a preliminary report. It's different this year than it has been in the past. So this year, you're going to be able to submit resolutions as early as April 1st and no later than 20 days prior to the annual meeting, which is going to be May 22nd this year.
Yes. So in the past, you mentioned it changed. It was April 15th to 15 days before. So actually the window is kind of opened up a little bit. It's like a 10-day longer window now to get those resolutions in. And you mentioned now it's going to be April 1st. And this year, because the convention is on the 11th and 12th of June, that means that you can submit them no later than May 22nd. So you have to have them in before May 23rd. So that's this year's process. And that change in the process has changed how your committee is going to be able to process the resolutions, because you've got to present a preliminary report 10 days before the convention.
Yeah, that's right. So the Bylaw 20 change means that Southern Baptist messengers will be able to review the preliminary report of resolutions prior to the convention, which is really, I think, an advantage for messengers and an advantage for us. So after the portal closes on May 22nd, we actually, as a committee, are going to gather together in Oklahoma City this year, and we are going to work on the resolutions together. And that's a pretty intensive process. And then publish that preliminary report 10 days prior.
Yeah, so 10 days prior to the convention, kind of around that 1st of June date, you're going to get that in Baptist Press. You'll see the full list of proposed resolutions that Kristen and the Resolutions Committee has brought forward to suggest to Southern Baptist. And there'll be kind of a 10-day review period. And then at the annual meeting and the daily bulletin on Tuesday, you will get the final version of those resolutions, and any changes or edits or amendments that have been made since the original report will be denoted in that report. So kind of like what we do with the Committee on Nominations. The Committee on Nominations puts their report out before the convention, and then at the annual meeting, you see the final report of the Committee on Nominations. It's a very similar process, just a bit of a shortened time frame. It also allows, this allows Kristen and the Committee on Resolutions, if something pops up that they feel like Southern Baptists need to address in that 10-day period, they have the opportunity to do so. So it still gives us the opportunity not to make wholesale changes or anything like that to those proposed resolutions, but maybe to tighten them up or whatever they deem needed, and also to present anything that may pop up in the time frame before the convention.
Yeah, it's not our intention to surprise messengers with a new resolution during that time, unless there was some major world event that really Southern Baptists wanted to speak to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just an opportunity for us to fix split infinitives if we accidentally don't catch those. So we're kind of happy about that.
Now the grammar cop coming out on that stuff.
Time.
And because a couple years ago, and we've had this happen a few times at the annual meeting or right after the annual meeting. The Roe v. Wade fell because of the ruling and in the Supreme Court. And we also had the Obergefell ruling a few years ago, right after the annual meeting. There was been a lot of things. It seems like June's always kind of a hot button time of year. Things have happened. The Supreme Court's issuing things. So maybe, a big ruling were to come down in that time frame, Southern Baptists could still speak to that. Yeah, so it allows you to do that kind of thing. So a great new process this year, I'm hoping. And we're going to see how it goes. And I have all the confidence in the world in you as the chair, because this is your third year in a row on the on the Resolutions Committee.
Resolutions good. Yeah, I love it. It's been a wonderful experience for me the last 2 years. First year was Bart was the chair, and that was really great to see his vision and really leadership in that time. And then last year with David Sons. And so I feel like I've received such great examples of how to really pursue the greatest consensus we can possibly pursue in the way that we craft resolutions and ground things in scripture as they always need to be. And just Bart and David gave me such a great example. And so I hope to really carry that vision forward in this year's resolutions committee. So,
Now, you mentioned grounding them in scripture
yeah.
and consensus resolutions. Why is that so important? I mean, it's obviously important, but why do you mentioned those two things particularly? Why is that so important to you and the committee?
Well, resolutions are the way that at the annual meeting, it's the way that messengers can actually speak substantially. We do a lot of action where we take votes and make motions and approve budgets and things like that. But the resolutions are where Southern Baptists get to say, like, we believe this thing and we apply it in this way to the culture today or some major topic today. And so I think it's absolutely critical that what we resolve is grounded and based on our logic from scripture. And that builds a robust foundation for us to speak truth into the darkness in our world.
So you get the resolutions submitted to you guys, and sometimes the resolutions committee crafts their own, depending on whatever topics they feel like Southern Baptists need to address. What's the process like? You mentioned that you're meeting this year prior to, in the past, I mean, I know because of working here that the resolutions committee came in early and they really went after it 3 or 4
Yeah.
days before the convention in basically a windowless hotel room, eating hotel chicken for,
We had
3
windows
days.
last year.
You had windows last year. You did. It was really nice. The year before, not so much. But in Anaheim, you didn't have the windows. The one place that's so scenic there in Southern California where you are. But this year a little different.
Yeah.
Have some more time. Maybe you got a 10-day window to be able to work on these things once they're received and once they have to go out versus that quick 3 to 4 days that are kind of jammed together right before the annual meeting.
Yeah, there's tons of, I mean, the last 2 years, there's just tons of pressure because of the timeline. And it's already so much mentally to sit down with people that you're just meeting for the first time and work in work groups and edit and think of different passages of scripture to include. And it's just a really grueling process, honestly. It's enjoyable for me. I love that kind of stimulation and stamina, but it is challenging in the past. So this year, we still do have 2.5 days of in-person work time, but then we have almost a week afterwards to publish the preliminary report. So the thing that I think that does is we get the bulk of our work done in that meeting time, in that in-person meeting time, but then we get to go home and take a rest and then look at it with fresh eyes again after we've met in person and just make sure there's nothing that we wouldn't want to change or anything like that. So I think it just gives us a little breathing room to make sure that those resolutions are going to be what we think Southern Baptists want to say on the topics.
Yeah. So that's really neat. And, I think you leading this, knowing the previous version and the work schedule, and then now leading the new one, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on the backside of the convention and how you thought this process went and how Southern Baptists can maybe improve it moving forward. So, so that's kind of the resolutions process this year. Anything else you need folks to know at home? I know if they're interested in submitting resolutions, all the information, sbc.net/resolutions. Very simple, sbc.net/resolutions. You can get to the submission portal. You have to fill out a form basically saying that you're eligible to be a messenger, because the only people that can make resolutions and submit resolutions are those who are eligible to be a messenger. So there's a little form to fill out, but then also you can upload your resolution or paste it, or you can even email it to resolutions@sbc.net. So anything else you need the folks at home watching this to know about the resolutions process?
Yeah, the main thing that I would say is, listen, we have a bit of a rubric that we actually use to evaluate resolutions, and we try to make it on the basis of the merit of the resolution. We even take off names, and we just try to evaluate how strong this resolution is. We think about, has the topic already been addressed recently and well in the past? How much help will this give Southern Baptists? Will it help us share the gospel with the lost in a more profound way? And does it strengthen churches? So there's some criteria that we sort of look through to evaluate those things. And so just look at the past resolutions, think about, work together with others on trying to craft something that would be really representative. And we look forward to really thinking through your resolutions that are submitted.
Yeah. So, well, we appreciate you and your team's work to do that. And we know that you guys will be diligent to that. And everyone watching at home, again, sbc.net/resolutions if you want to submit those. And we want to remind you, if you're watching at home, that your road to Indy and your road back home should include a quick side trip to Southern Seminary and Boyce College. You can go to sbts.edu/road trip to see what Southern has planned for SBC 24 road trippers just like you. Again, we want to see you this year in Indianapolis in June. You can join us right here next time on The Road to Indy, presented by Southern Seminary and Boyce College.